stuck in the mail.
Welcome to the very special episode of Stuck in the Mail, 30th episode and 30th anniversary of Mike and I's high school garage punk band, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to be reviewing today an album we've shown on the pod that's called Happy Go Lucky. It was our sixth cassette. And actually, even as I say that, let's talk about the fact that it's not Happy Go Lucky. It's Happy Go Lucky.
Yes,
Is
our band was called Hideous Kids.
which was a take on Green Day's original name, Sweet Children, which somehow we knew in 1994, which, was the year of Green Day and Dookie. But that's a deep cut. That's a deep early lookout cut. Not many people even now know Sweet Children, but that's the truth of the parody name.
Green Day being from our area in Northern California.
Especially the drummer actually being from Mendocino County, which I don't think we knew that. I think we knew there was some connection, There was connections from Mendocino County to the Bay Area. We won't go into that, but
Well, and
uh,
as I recall, the name of the album was a sort of a play. So I had a cat named Lucky at the time.
mhm, mhm.
Is that what you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about it till really just then that, we call it happy go lucky, but even as it spells it on there, it's happy hyphen and then go lucky with an exclamation point on the bottom line. So, yeah, we just kind of forgot about that. But
Well,
this
and the songs on this album were a lot tighter, a lot more poppy than what
Mhm.
we had been doing. Sam had recently gotten a new drum set, as I recall, and so it was a legit drum set as opposed to the little like kid set he was playing before.
Yep.
And so all of this came together to make what arguably is our most polished album, Happy Go Lucky.
Exactly. And it's 1996, and I was thinking about it, and 96 for me, I guess I was I th- I guess I was a junior year or senior. It feels like it was earlier than that, but I guess not.
Well,
School years are always 2 years.
let's consult the liner notes, Casey.
It does say 96, so
So
that's
yeah,
for sure.
so yes, we made these custom album covers. So that is the Hideous Kid. As you can see, this is a paint by number.
Hmm.
There were instructions on the back where you could send in your finished coloring, job to Casey's address, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's my old house address, which was, pretty much the practice space. Not OS, but pretty much.
And we have included recorded August 1996. So I was about to head off to college, apparently.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And looks like Dan got credit for percussion for opening the Pepsi can on the backside.
Uh, on the back cover. We'll get more onto that. But the background, what is the rest of the background story in short? Mike here played in several bands in high school. Let's talk about this day today. Essentially Christmas Day 94. The start of the band really, in my memory, is this. Sam, he actually had already gotten a cheap Harmony Kmart electric guitar, and I thought it was really cool. I only had an acoustic. Mike, I think, only had an acoustic,
I
right?
had my mom's nylon string acoustic guitar.
Yep, I had nylon string as well because my mom loved Spanish flamenco guitar and wanted my dad to learn, and he didn't do anything. So, yeah, so I got a cheap Ukiah pawn shop. Later would be Flammable music, ironically. And that was two electric guitars. So, and then several months later, you would get an electric guitar on 4th Street in Santa Rosa.
Yep. So what I don't remember is if you were like, "Hey, we should start a band now that I've got a guitar." Uh, I
It
guess
was
that's
pretty
probably
immediate.
what happened. It took me a while to get one, as I recall. I don't think I had one on our first little tape. Took me a while.
You're on my acoustic on that, probably just because you didn't bring a guitar. And I think Sam and I being over in the garage with the electrics, and I guess we had amps, and you having my acoustic. I had a little really terrible boombox which recorded about half our material. And I think we just started recording. I think you already had a couple little things in mind. I had like one semblance of like a three note progression. And I don't know, Sam, I feel like Sam at this point was already off on his own things that he wanted to do, but we just had three idiots with the guitar, so we just started recording. I don't even know if we had a band name yet. We must have, because I remember you staying over at my house, and I remember us staying up almost like way into the wee hours and throwing back different band names and until one really stuck. And every time one stuck, we'd keep coming up with new ones. Somehow that one stuck, and it was like, hey, Sweet Children. I was really into Green Day. We all thought they were amazing. Later we would learn they're playing very simple songs very accurately, but at the time it was like, oh my gosh, how do you play a power chord that fast? Kind of like the Ramones.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that getting started, I think that it's a perfect example of creativity within limits. So this was a uniquely 90s phenomenon. Today, if we were to try to start a band with all the technology that's available to us, we would have been paralyzed by indecision. We would have had too many options available to us. At the time, we had your boombox, so we
Yeah.
had one shot. We had to record this stuff,
Uh-huh.
and we did not know how to play very well. At least I did not know how to play very well. We could play E minor, and we could play some single note stuff. And so
D.
within those limitations of not being able to play very well and having rudimentary equipment, it was very fun to try to come up with something within those constraints. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why I have all the technology at my disposal now. I'm not writing anything, Casey. I'm not creating
Oh,
anything.
me neither.
But at the
Not
time, we had each other, and it
yeah.
was the time of life when we were wanting to create and felt inspired somehow. So it's pretty cool to think about.
I think there was a decent amount of pressure on the fact that there was a semblance of an idea and we were there. We had, three guitars, which is hardly a band. But we had the idea that we could actually record something. Um, and honestly, that second little time we did this, I would say it was a lot more of a failure. And it's kind of like the first two recordings are kind of like one thing.
Yeah.
Um, but we could go over the whole timeline, which we hope to do. But
Yeah.
this is about the fact that as of this Christmas, it's 2024, so it's 30-year anniversary of Hideous Kids. Not a lot has been going on in the Hideous Kids front. We've hinted a few times that we have a missing band member who's in the Colorado area, and we started as three guitars, and eventually Sam was nice enough and had the ability to kind of move on to percussion and drums, because we were pretty limited by that format. I mean, you really can't highlight three people playing guitar unless you're like all classical geniuses. I was probably the weakest on guitar by far and would stay that way, but. By the time that this album we're reviewing today came out, Sam had moved from a small kit, which was a lot of fun, into a real kit. So if I had just moved a bass here, we probably could have sounded like a real band, and it would have been for the best. But I did not do that. I would have preferred it. It's my favorite instrument now.
But there's something unique, Casey, about two electric guitars and drums.
There are bands that have done it. There are popular, successful bands. I cannot think of one at the moment, but
Blues Explosion.
Blues Explosion, that is true. That is true. Yeah, there's been others too that were even more successful, but yeah, we did kind of have a full sound at this point. Um,
And
is
it coincided with me leaving town to go to college. And so we really didn't have a chance to perform these songs leading up to this when our music was a lot more, shall we say, rudimentary. Uh, we did have opportunities. We played at talent shows, and it's crazy to think about. And we were kind of just this, you know, everyone was in on the joke and everyone acted like we were the greatest band in the world. And, we were.
that I mean that was a big part of it, just from the name, to the way we would perform. I'm not gonna say it's like the Velvet Underground or something, but it's like this. It's very tongue in cheek.
Yes.
Uh, you're we're
Provocative.
we were kind of, it's not just DIY, but there was a, you know, one of Mike's favorite words at the time was idiot. And it was like we were really implying like an idiot sentimentality to our music. We weren't saying, hey, we know how to play or hey, we don't know how to play. We were just kind of like saying we're idiots, you know?
Yeah.
This is raw music.
This
Uh,
is anti-music.
it's anti-music. Yeah, it's some kind of I don't know exactly what I'm trying to hint at, but some kind of like Dada movement or something, you know, art for art's sake. And
You
it
know what I
did.
would love to find? I would love to find that review that our buddy Eric did of our of our music. I wish that we had saved that because that was just the most perfect like objective analysis of what we were trying to do.
Yup. And I think we even knew then that that was what we were trying to achieve. It was that time in the early 90s. It would go really bad by even like, I don't know, I'm going to say after like basically 95, 96. Like it kind of, like I'm going to throw out an album that I heard recently, OK Computer, that like the digital internet, like
Yeah.
what Mike's talking about, where you have unlimited resources at your hand, literally at your hand on your phone. It just everything changed. Everything changed. There was no longer that DIY spirit. It fizzled in the 90s.
And what's so special looking back is we came of age right at that moment in the early 90s.
Right.
And before that had happened, before things went digital, and when there were bands and artists who were doing things like a lo-fi approach, not lo-fi like the current, watching AI videos on YouTube. I'm talking about lo-fis and low
Yeah.
fidelity.
Yeah.
We recorded with CB microphones, trucker microphones. We were inspired by a lot of bands, but at the same time, we hadn't experienced a lot of life yet. We hadn't experienced a lot of music yet. We were just getting into 120 minutes and seeing all these bands that were like, wow, I had no idea this existed because we're in this sheltered town. All we
Yeah.
have is pop radio. And
Pop
so
up.
then we would hear something like Beck. Well, Beck's early stuff was probably the most inspirational to our sort of approach to music, wouldn't you say?
I would say, and also there's an obscure rarity cover on this album that we're talking about today to prove it. For me, I remember I used to call, by the time I was in college, so like by the time I was 97, I used to call a lot of these bands schlock rock because they were kind of talented, but they were not, they didn't care about sometimes even being in tune, It was oftentimes kind of silly ideas and stuff. And Beck and also Ween and a ton other John Spencer, a ton of other bands that came out. Sebado from Dinosaur Jr. There was this whole lo-fi movement, and plus the noise movement and Sonic Youth and all that. It was interesting, and we applied all that to this band
Yeah. Yeah.
very much. And the punk thing, the punk revival, we'll just leave it at Green Day. Others would come that I didn't care for, but that first Green Day successful album, Dookie, I mean, I was mesmerized. It was me. I got you mesmerized, but I was just like, I remember seeing, I was like, man, because I was struggling to learn how to play a power chord, and to
Uh-huh.
move it. And when you're doing that, and then you see these two dudes, like, well, one's playing bass, but probably didn't know that. In unison, they're going like, "Dun, dun, 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 dun," and you're like, oh man, that's what I want to do.
Well, and I hope our hope here is that we can tell the full story with audio clips, even video clips, because we have some of those, but we don't want to do that without Sam. Even
Right.
if it is just for Sam to make a 30-second appearance and give us his blessing, that's what we're hoping for.
Yep. Or he just quietly watches this and has a big smile on his face, whatever he needs to do. Siren just went by out here. I don't know if that's an omen. Uh, should we go to the album? Are you ready for the happy go lucky review?
Let's do it. And we can include some audio clips, so I'll put those
Let's
in
do it.
post.
All right. Track one. No. No. Track one is an intro, and I'm pretty sure it's called No No because you were kind of like the band, you were in band, so you knew a thing or two about music. But I'm pretty sure at the end of this little riff, you say No No because maybe I didn't stop playing, or Sam didn't stop playing, or
Yeah, you're
some false stop.
that's a nice way of saying that I was the band tyrant.
You're the band tyrant. Yes, exactly.
And so this is probably the best example of that, where we're trying to do this instrumental, and I think that we were really happy with having Sam's new kit and
Yeah.
how much better it sounded. And this was a fun one because it had the maraca and everything, and it was just a silly little throwaway.
Mhm. A
But we were
Sonic Youth nod. The Maraca is definitely a Sonic Youth nod. It would not be
definitely
there without Steve Shelley.
Steve Shelley, yep. And
Important.
but anyway, it was supposed to be a little intro to and what I didn't understand at the time was that songs can breathe and they don't have to follow the perfect pattern. I think you don't realize that when you're young. At least I
Oh
did.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, in my head, it's supposed to stop here. And the fact
right,
that it didn't, I was like, no. I do the same thing on the Beach Blanket Bingo recording. The whole thing, I'm barking out orders.
right. Well, I mean, it was like the first time we'd really played through it, so it definitely has some certain magic to it. But
We
anyway,
had, and I had some like dumb hand signals that never worked.
yeah, it was. We were trying to. This is lo-fi. We've explained that for those of you that haven't heard this band. This is people. This is three guys literally trying to figure out how to make and record music. I mean, we would go onto a 4 track, and that would be the whole process restarted. But so, anywho, that's just the intro track. The second song is called "Steak Will Make Him Lucky." Another Lucky reference here. I'm gonna let Mike take this one away because this is one of our best.
All right, so here, take a listen to Steak Will Make Him Lucky.
Few of us can see we're living in a tree. Victoria's calling me from the wine country. Steak will make him lucky.
Okay, so as you can tell, this is quite poppy. This is very punchy, very catchy. It was a lot of fun. It has a really cool Sam drum solo.
Mhm.
Um,
Which
the
was kind of a problem as well because there's like two recordings of it. There's like a background one, which makes me think, was this 4 track too? Was some of this 4 track?
I think it was. I think we tried to dub in like overdub drum solo, and it didn't quite work.
Yeah, you hear like a drum solo and then you hear like another drum solo in the far background.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you're right to say that Sam's cohesive, quick drumming here, I couldn't drum this. You
Yeah,
couldn't
totally. No, 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 no. Yeah,
for sure.
this was Sam coming into, prominence here. This is great. Yeah, so the lyrical approach for Hideous Kids is I remember that I would like look at magazines that were like on your counter and I would find weird phrases and then I would just make them into songs and then I would attach all this meaning to them afterwards.
That's very, very true, but this is not that. This is a Simpsons reference that you've missed.
Yeah, and that and references to things that we would always say to each other that we had seen on TV. So some of those would be Saturday Night Live references. Shout out to Maka, which we'll get into someday. But this one in particular was a Simpsons reference. Huge Simpsons fan. And this is the episode where Bart is going to he's like in a miniature golf tournament and Homer is like trying to get him all like eating all this food that'll make him perform well. And Lisa says, "No, Dad, steak will make him logy."
So weird.
And so then that became steak will make him lucky.
Wow, wow.
A
So,
couple of other little lyrical references here that you may enjoy.
oh yeah,
The
yeah.
happy-go-lucky family. Um, the sun's all in their faces. Their first name's Ring of Quality. Their donuts full of glazes. I was staring at your family crest that had your first names on it, the
Mm,
Viking crest.
Hmm.
That was what inspired that verse.
Huh. Now that I didn't know, but we still have that. That's by the door, the Velkommen, which is welcome
Yeah, Vilkomen. Yeah, yeah. And then
in
the part about Uncle leaves you a skunk farm. Do you know what that's
that's
from?
that's from the Game of Life,
You
which
can
is
be a winner.
maybe the most poetic line in the song, but it's just stolen off of Space in Life. A hilarious one. I mean, it's probably the best one on the whole board. And I don't know if I had that around or something. It's so weird. Okay,
We'll make him
well,
lucky.
should we cover the music? Because I feel like this was the actual riffs, the two riffs. I feel that I wrote those riffs and you did the lead, but I don't know.
That would make sense. I mean, that's typically my approach is that once I have chords, whether I wrote them or someone else wrote them, then I will do the little lead on the top.
Yeah, I mean, is it literally two chords and then two chords? Because
Yeah.
that I could probably do.
Yeah. It's literally like this little surf rock chorus and then just two
It
chords for the verse.
it 100% is. It's very much a surf song, but I think I did write the full riff and you did the really catchy leads because I think I could handle a two power chord to two power chord song. I think that was it.
It was punchy.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of our hits, but hey, this is ironic. Are we ready to go to number three?
Let's do it.
Some of you out there might recognize this one if you've seen another episode. Number three, Stuck in the Mail.
Wow. Cosmic.
Stuck in the mail. Stuck in the mail.
Okay, so I think I wrote this one, maybe.
Sam wrote the lyrics.
Sam wrote the lyrics. Thank you. Because I was like, I don't know. I don't remember being inspired by anything to write this, but I do remember writing the music. And you had that weird thing at the chorus where you were like, "Burrito-beer, burrito-beer."
Oh yeah, it's me pretending to play bass. Like I had enough idea of what a bass was at that point that I was like, okay, this is like, I don't know if you ever heard this, but like the Joy Division bass sound is so unique because he's playing all the octaves higher. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Obviously, I wasn't into Joy Division yet, but what I'm doing is trying to make the bass sound like a lead and come out over the riff.
Yeah.
But I had
Um,
no idea that that's what I was trying to do.
this
No.
is one to me that musically took on a lot of life when we played it live a few times because that
Yeah.
main riff, that and then Sam goes,
Oh yeah.
it felt really fun to play.
This album's fragmented, but these first four tracks are really truly the first three. This is like a special little pocket right here that we have in development that would never exist again.
I enjoy Sam's lyrics a lot. Thank you for reminding me that he wrote them.
Yeah.
If you
And
want to save pesos, fill my mouth with asbestos.
that that is a rhyme.
That's an
I
all-timer. We
I
got to
don't
save this for posterity, just for that alone.
Well, we're gonna have to redo this with Sam. I want him to be thinking about this. I know you're gonna watch this episode, and I know it's gonna bring a smile to your face on the 30th anniversary. That Mike and I are we going to such idiotic lengths to try to track you down via the internet. So,
There was I remember a couple months ago when I was like, "Hey, I found a song that has the exact progression of Stuck in the Mail." Do you remember what that was?
I do not.
Okay.
Uh, Gosh, I
Um,
wonder if it was modern. I think it was older. I think it was an older song, and we had not heard it, so we didn't
no.
rip it off. but there is influences here. So yeah, Stuck in the Mail, another classic one, another classic live one, and the reason why we decided to use it for this podcast is that it seems like kind of a name that you would use for a podcast, even though the mail has nothing to do with internet Zoom calls, but it just kind of was the most fitting. And we're trying to shout out to Sam here. We keep referencing our drummer, original member and other member who, it's like a calling to him. Like he's out there stuck in the internet, really, but you know,
A couple musical notes on this one. The bridge was an attempt to, we used to do this thing where we would turn on the radio randomly and then just keep whatever it played.
yeah.
And this was a case where it didn't really work, where we turned on the radio in the middle of this guitar solo and it's just like radio ads. It's kind of dumb.
Equipment Company will show you all the great features of New Holland Metal tractors, like turning radiuses as tight as 118 inches and a four-wheel roll-bar, telescoping steering wheel, and wraparound fenders to prevent damage to vines and trees.
Way the bar.
It's been too long since I listened to it, I guess.
But it has a pretty cool solo. I think it was Sam. And then the end, I love how the song evolved because when we played it live, we would go blah, stuck in the mail, and then
Yeah.
Sam would go and we would just go forever doing that.
And the endless no end there. So that's an example of where your tyrancy has already ended from the first track because it's went from no, we have to stop to like and that's not on this album, but when we play it live, it would just go
Yeah, forever.
ad nausea.
And then at a certain point, it becomes funny.
Yeah. So number 4, another Mike title, I am sure. I Am the Ayatollah.
Oh man, Casey, this is your shining moment as a vocalist.
I think this is possibly my best vocal on
It's a
anything.
killer song. I mean, it sounds a lot like Stick Will Make Him Lucky, but in a more darker minor key kind of way. It has
Yeah.
a really cool like fake bass line that you and I, it's really weird because we trade off where
Yeah.
I play the bass line while you're singing, and then you come in playing the bass line while I play the lead.
Hey, let's hear a clip of that right now.
All the clouds are gone. Trying to do my practice run. Looking for the man in a freight car. Gonna be a big superstar.
Yeah, for me, I was obviously focusing on singing on this one. I'm trying to remember. I have they're kind of fake bass parts for me, right? It's another one where I'm using guitar as bass.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. You
For me,
can tell because our guitars have very, very different character to them,
yeah, but we're both kind of playing the same main riff.
which is a heck of a riff. I don't know if anyone else has come up with that same riff, but it is a killer riff.
It is. Oh, I'm sure it's out there. But so let's start with the title because I think you wrote the lyrics and
Yeah,
I think you named the song and
I,
it
I
just
did. I did write the lyrics. I think that I was trying to do. My thought process there was okay. The Ayatollah was this
uh
world leader, this powerful world leader, and so this was this sort of self-empowerment
right.
statement. I am the Ayatollah. That's all there is to it. There's no political like.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not even the chorus isn't that. So it's more abstract because I'm just using that in the last verse line, right?
Yeah,
Something
that's it. And I don't honest. I'm trying to think through the lyrics. If there's any meaning to it other than just nonsense phrases, It's probably just nonsense phrases.
It's pretty nonsensical.
But
I
it
did
is, you're kind of like,
messed
it's,
up a line, and I we kept it that way because you had a rhyme scheme, and I looked down. I don't know, my vision was already really bad, but and I didn't see the word best, and I said bark. I think my teeth look like bark.
yeah, it's supposed to be my teeth look their best, rocking
Yeah,
hard for crest, which is very stupid.
yeah. But I said my teeth look like bark, rocking hard for crest. Yeah.
This one's got another mail reference. Put it in the mail, it won't take
Yeah.
long. Pretty soon
Yeah.
you've nearly won. That was a reference to the Publishers Clearinghouse, probably, because it was probably sitting there on your counter, all the junk
Yep.
mail.
Yep. So there is an idea behind that where you're taking things and you're making I mean Beck did that. You're taking things in the physical environment and you're using them for lyrics.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know what that's called, but where you're not making the lyrics themselves, the words doesn't matter, it's the phrasing that is the meaning, you know. And we
Yeah,
definitely
we were just like the Cocteau twins, Casey.
yeah, we did a lot of that. A lot of that. Lyrics were not something that took a long time. But anywho, so that's kind of the core of this album. Now, I realized something in looking at this playlist here. I think the next two tracks, tracks 5, Locomotor, and track 6, Search and Destroy, which is a Stooges cover that we thought was EMF because EMF covered it. That's another story. Those two tracks were recorded from the ill-fated Your House living room floor sessions.
You're right.
Correct?
That is correct. I guess we tried to do that. It's hard to imagine Sam brought his drum set over there.
I think those ones were recorded without the large drum set.
Interesting. Because
I put,
I
I put
definitely
stuff on the
remember
floor.
I remember being at my house and I was like trying to get you guys to like say these vocal lines at certain points in the song, and I would get things wrong and I would get all frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, we probably had. I mean, isn't this also where like the "Now Look What You've Done" like re-recorded Hideosity version? Not to rattle off too many deep things there. Isn't
Yeah,
that where
maybe.
that came from? Like, I have this memory of all this being at your house.
Yeah, you're probably right because what happened is we had some kind of a big show or whatever before I left for college, and so we were like, "Oh, we need to get a greatest hits tape together," because at this point we had 5 tapes. And
Yeah.
so but we had really, really lousy recordings of some of our best songs. And so we decided to re-record like probably 5 or 6 of them. And I
Yeah.
think you're right. It probably all was at my house. And that's where we attempted to do Locomotor and Search and Destroy. That would make sense.
We knew how to do a package deal. Like we're like literally like the fifth and a half album, which became essentially the greatest hits, was literally like our best songs re-recorded, so nothing off this. And then I think Now Look What You've Done and Locomotor and Search and Destroy, which somehow end up on this, kind of ill-fittingly.
Yeah, it's weird. I really, really like Locomotor. It's very like it's a stressful listen because it's all hanging by a thread, but it is really fun and really melodic.
Yeah.
Sitting in my favorite chair, I got nothing to do. I ask, am I anywhere? I look like Roger Brew. Take me back, take me away. Give me brother today. When I'm stuck between lost and found, lost of spirit has got me down. Pick me up and spin me round like a motor. Don't let me drown.
Yeah, there's I think a Clash or something, maybe Big Audio Dynamite song that, or actually maybe even Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros, but I've heard something that sounds very Locomotor because
I,
it's
it's
six
got that cool like descending power chord thing that I think you wrote, where it's like blah 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 blah. This is a cool riff.
maybe. If I wrote it, you definitely helped me make it into a song. Um, that's
And
for sure.
the chorus has too many words, but it is pretty fun. I like this song a lot.
Yeah. But I don't think there's serious drums on this because on the next one, Search and Destroy, there's not. We're kind of doing two songs at once here, kind of. Um,
Yeah, I feel like you might be right that it was it was Sam's old kit because the sound is like the previous album, kind of.
I want to go out on a limb and say Sam is playing on guitar on one of these or two of them because I don't really know if I'm getting it done. Because this, maybe by the time we're recording this, I can play four chords and Steak Will Make Him Lucky, but I don't know if I can play Locomotor yet. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think I would have been accomplished enough to have been playing the drum part on either of these. It's got to be
Well,
Sam. It must have been like a four-track overdub situation.
yeah, I remember we were using a four track. So I think what four, we're getting a lot of boring details for everyone out here.
I'm sure
Sam,
everyone's still watching.
Sam, correct us if we're wrong, but we're using whatever four track we're using, not Dan's. We were using at this session, and then we were still using, oh, it was Eric's, and we are using for Happy Go Lucky, I
Um,
think.
Locomotor also has one of my favorite examples of when we would go to a guitar solo, I would try to vocalize something, but sometimes I didn't know what I was going to say, and so you would come up with something like "two ba." Listen,
Okay, I do recall that oddly, but
and you guys would make fun of me because it was really stupid.
huh. Okay, okay. I mean, Locomotor was one of those like I think at the time before this, it was like our shining star, but we didn't know where to put it. It sounded a little derivative. And it ended up on the fifth song of Happy Go Lucky.
Yeah,
And it's just kind of an oddity. We never played it really live.
I know it's strange that we never tried to. And then Search and
So,
Destroy is hilarious because it's us trying to cover the EMF version.
from some obscure EP you had on CD.
Save my soul. Get away from
The deep cut. We've
Um,
never heard the original Stooges. Oddly enough, I think pretty soon I would have heard of the Stooges, but you know, that's Search and Destroy is off the Iggy and the Stooges, so not my favorite one. But yeah, so weird. I mean, Search and Destroy is tattooed on Henry Rollins' back, and we're just like completely oblivious.
This is what happens when you live in a small town.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. It's a decent cover. I mean, we're trying to do the EMF version, which is
Yeah, and it has us speaking the samples that are on the EMF version. How dumb is that?
success.
Success will write apocalypse across the sky.
Yeah, this is a dark version. We should have went full industrial on this one.
I'm gonna cover EMF at some point on this podcast.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. I think I have a CD long box sealed. I'll make
They are much more than unbelievable.
yeah. The I always want to say Epsom, but I believe that's the salt.
I think it is. I think it is Epsom Mad Funkers.
Yeah, the Epsom Mad Funkers. That's it.
Yeah.
Are we ready to go on to Mutton Mayday? And
Oh boy.
I assume resume recording in my garage in '96 with the four track.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be from that same session. And I used to play this constantly at college and just drive my roommates absolutely insane. Let's explain what Button Mayday is. It's us just riffing, playing, whatever, soloing for 4 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we decided that it would be funny to, this is such a high school kid thing to do, is if
Yeah.
we would record ourselves singing these words backwards.
Yep. 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 There
Oh,
they are.
wrong
Oh,
side.
where's
And
the
then
there they
and
are.
then and then turn the tape around.
Uh-huh.
So we would say, look at me would become M ta cool, for example. And so
Mhm.
we did the entire song with me going, "M ta cool."
No, 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 no. You don't quite have it right. You're singing those lyrics backwards and then we're playing them forwards.
Yeah, and then we would flip the tape and play the backwards, which is supposed to be forward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was earlier on a recording we had done at the end, kind of like, they always back in the day there was backwards masking on records. So we did like a Satan Eats Cheese Whiz one.
It's
And
because we had the 4 track and we were enamored with that technology.
yes, and it was just something you did. Like, I was buying records already at this point, and it's just something you heard about. You're like, oh, you ever hear that played backwards? And it's like, what? Why?
Well, and
You
the
know,
only part that is actually that you could understand when you're listening to it is the igloo. It's like, boy, igloo.
it's a very obnoxious throwaway. It's crazy that it's track 7. Really
Um,
crazy.
Speaking of obnoxious throwaways, okay,
Yeah,
I really, really don't like Boomerang Baby. Do you?
I'm having a hard time even hearing it.
It's acoustic. It was just me being insufferable, thinking that I could write like I don't know.
Oh, it is yeah, it's now I think I hear it. There's a lot of harmonica, which I get credited for playing.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
and
Sam's playing slide guitar on it.
I hope that I can see you send me boomerang baby. A number on my forehead lets me know just what I said. If I am dead, I'd like to spend the day or two. Only I could read. Yes, number on my forehead lets me know just what I said. If I am dead today, maybe 3. Only I could read.
that
Yeah.
one's not a winner.
No,
Uh,
to me, it's funny. Something like Mutton Mayday is way funnier and way more like true to our ethos
yeah.
than Boomerang Baby, which is me trying to like a wink wink. Look, we can write a country song. Like that's not nearly as fun as us being completely obnoxious with the backwards masking.
Well, I think track 9, Angelic Scratch Dance, has an even weirder history because Angelic Scratch Dance is technically not a Hideous Kids recording. Technically, it's a Sam and I recording.
Oh, interesting.
And we recorded it together in his room at the back of his house where we would oftentimes do stuff. I mean, Sam was playing all kinds of crazy stuff. He was getting into digital and electronic music. And this is kind of a little glance of that in Hideous Kids because I think I wrote this riff. It's just kind of like a Sonic Youth wannabe, like strumming the highs and like
Harmonics.
yeah, the harmonics, yeah. And just recorded it on his boombox or something. Maybe it was mine. Sam, come on, help us out here. I'm sure he's proud of this one.
I like
I
how it goes on and on. That's my
It
favorite thing
just
about it.
goes on endlessly. I mean, you could have taken a snippet of it. I thought it was really cool. The song name is describing what's happening here.
I
Uh,
like it. I think it's a cool song.
that's the kind of thing I would try to do things with the guitar, that were more experimental because I couldn't do a lot of things. And I just would, if I liked something, I'd be like, no matter how simple or weird or dumb it was, I'd be like, well, that could be a song. And this is an example of that. I don't know if it is a song, but it sure is neat. But coming up on number 10, Flammable. I think we get back into almost a real track here.
I love Flammable. What a performance. Sam Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen.
When you hear what I make clear, they will never see. Gotta stop and focus those of the brand new beat. Flammable, like a mighty man. Coming down on Bluetooth ends, buying us a can. I work in a Lego shop in Bowden.
I'm actually even surprised by like why this is so late in this because it's definitely one of the highlights of side B.
Oh, it's great. It's got that cool riff that I think you wrote. The it's the I work in a Lego shop in Bowden.
I think Sam wrote the riff and he wrote the lyrics to this, but I don't know. That would be my guess. He definitely wrote the lyrics and he
Yeah,
sang.
it feels like Sam's lyrics.
Who's playing drums on this? You?
No, it's gotta be a multi-track. It's gotta be Sam, and then he overdubbed the vocals.
So maybe that's it. Maybe he did everything on that. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe the Sam Mitchell song like completely thoroughly.
And this one has the nod to 311. Remember where he's like, "Come back in."
Wow. Yeah.
Listen, I love Flammable. It's one of our best songs ever.
It is definitely Sam. We gotta do a special Flammable episode now.
We didn't realize how good it was. Like we buried it at the end of this.
Well, I mean, you gotta have good stuff throughout, but yeah, there is a streak of kind of whatever in the middle of this album. I mean, it's still a great album. It's still our best album, but yeah, Flammable is a deep cut. We'll just say call it what it is, a deep cut.
I mean, take away Boomerang Baby, and this is a stacked album to me.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to it, but I think I hear it, and yeah, it's no Tree Pine Jake. I think I'm hearing it correctly in my head now. It's just kind of one of those ones where you're like, the vocals are just kind of a little too like lilty and goofy. I don't know.
Yeah,
Bad.
it's goofy. It's silly and goofy.
Okay, we ready to move on to the final track, the second cover?
Totally confused by you. 10-foot man, making my lunch. Never understand. I want you so much, and I never wanted, and I never wanted, and I never wanted.
Where does this come from? I know it's like a backbeat cut.
Just like we recorded a rare B-side on an EP by EMF, I decided it would be great if we recorded a rare B-side on a Beck EP. I think The Loser or Beer Can EP, which were both like 5 or 6 songs, and Totally Confused actually I think was on one of Beck's cassette-only releases, but it was also released on this, I think, Loser EP. And I think it's with one of the girls from That Dog, which was a DGC band. And it's just this really pretty Beck song.
It was the perfect choice. I mean,
Yeah.
It's got basically dueling acoustic guitar lines, which once we picked those out, you and I just performed we played those too. Sam did a nice understated job on the drums. And the star, of course, is our friend Adrian.
Yep. Adrian and I duet it. Right now, my wife is at work with Adrian. Shout out to Adrian Simpson. Hope you see this. But
Adrian has been our only fan since the very beginning.
Yes. Wearing beanies for the occasion. Yeah, Adrienne Simpson in town here was an early fan and believer, and she got to, I think, sing for the first time here, and
Nope.
maybe.
She actually her first vocal was on the Lullaby song. Was it called Lullaby?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I do not remember the title, but yeah, you're right. Another outro with her.
That was
Probably,
on the Beach Blanket Bingo album, which in some ways is even better than Happy Go
yeah.
Lucky. I would put them up, but that was a beautiful al album closer. And so we had her come back again and do this album closer.
It's the peak period right there. The beach blanket bingo, hideosity, steak will make him lucky, and then
And
we
then
kept
I stopped drawing
playing.
album covers, and that tells you something.
Yeah, we kept playing. Um, but yeah, this is I guess the peak period is like essentially 1995 and 1996,
Hmm.
and then you're gone. So I mean, it really was a 2 year like peak. 94 doesn't count at all. There is no 94 except beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. And I think on that note, I don't feel like I've really missed anything. We called our record company Foul Scrooge Productions, which was pretty amazing. I'm
Yes.
staring at that right
Speaking
now.
of deep cuts, that came from the REM fan club.
Mhm. Yep.
And was it Bill Berry who said this? But I remember it. He said, "Try doing what I do each Christmas time. Be a foul Scrooge and don't spend a dime."
And on that note, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh man, so good. So
Okay,
if
I'm
you
gonna.
enjoyed this, if anyone's still watching, if you enjoyed this at all, we hope to tell the whole Hideous Kid story. You may hear some of this again because it's hard for us to talk about it and not tell the whole thing. But yeah, that was I enjoyed going down memory lane. This was cool.
Yeah, I think we got it all. I mean, like the only other thing we could say is like shows we did then, and that'd be really tough without something written down. But we did Ukiah Palooza, we did talent shows. We literally played at the place that is now In and Out right now in Ukiah, In and Out Burger. We
What was that
tried
place called?
uh Fjords.
Bagels and Blues.
Yeah, Bagels and Blues moved into Fjords. We played at the Forks Theater, which is now an abandoned building.
If
You know,
anyone, if you
high school.
still, there's still time for you to do the color by numbers and send it into Casey's old house.
Oh yeah, my old house, which I do not know who lives there, but I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
Um,
Cool.
Sam,
Yeah, Sammy.
we want to hear from you, buddy.
Yeah, I hope you're having a good Christmas. If you don't want to hear from us, but if you do, come on, say
Let
hello. Gonna
Let's
laugh.
tell the story. The Hideous Kids music has to be preserved. And stories, music and stories.
Yes, yes. I think there's such thing as a triple Zoom podcast, right?
We can make it work.
All right, Mike, that was a lot of fun. Happy 30th, all you
Happy
hideous kids out
happy happy Pearl anniversary to us all.
there. Ooh, prismatic. Very nice.
Oh yeah, prismatic.
Yes, very
All
nice. I
right.
know that one. All right, thanks, Mike. That was great.
Bye bye, everybody.